Here.
Hey, thanks for being here. And I wanted to start off with the economy. And we are seeing a lot of mixed messages. We're seeing Sweden's most powerful family, the Wallenbergs. They're saying they're preparing for an economic crisis. We have the IMF. They're out there saying that the next Great Depression is upon us. If you look at the U.S. and you look at the statistical numbers and you listen to Trump and what he's saying, the United States is doing fantastically. I mean, we're doing better than ever. Now, you hear people talking about, oh, you can make money as the market goes up, and during good times. You also hear people say, oh, you know what? You can also make money when the market's going down. Now, personally, I've played in the market. I'm not that great of an investor, but, we all try at different times. Is it really possible to make money on the downside? I mean, I think we know we can on the upside, but is it possible to do it on the downside?
Yeah, Dave, actually, there's a phrase called there's always a bull market in something, and you don't necessarily have to short the markets to make money. That's a very hard game to do because look at today's market. Market was down 60 points or 600 for the Dow. It ended up almost flat. So people who are shorting the market have to scramble into reversals, but you don't have to play it that way. So there are always things that are going to be moving up. Even the Great Depression, people who bought bonds and people who bought gold miners and silver miners made a lot of money during the Great Depression. And this is going to be no different during this economic dislocation, is that we're seeing a reset in the marketplace right now in that, we had tech and banks, financials leading, and now those are getting tired and we're starting to move back into what we call the real assets again, gold, silver, uranium, lithium, nickel, and then cryptocurrencies because people don't trust the banks. So we look at that and that's how we trade at Trade Genius. So we don't really want people to short the market. It's a hard game, but there's things you can just slide over and just keep on making money. And we're there again. So yeah. And also too, just so you know, the biggest Chinese pension house said they're going to start liquidating stocks too. So it's really interesting from an economic standpoint what's going on. And if I could just ramble on for another second, is that
Sure,
the United States is a different animal than the rest of the world. What people don't realize is because we are what's called the reserve currency, Dave, we have a lot of flexibility. And the other thing too is because we had the biggest trade deficits in the world, is that as trade dries up, it only helps us and it provides what they call good inflation that keeps us from going into a depressionary deflation. I wouldn't want to be China. I wouldn't want to be Japan. I wouldn't want to be Europe right now, but the United States is going to be the one-eyed giant in the land of the blind. And we're going to do quite well relative to the rest of the world. What that ultimately looks like, it's uncertain, but when you could bring all your manufacturing base in and you cut trade down, you can kind of control your own destiny a little bit more. And plus we have energy independence and we had food independence. So we don't require another nation and the extortion they can put upon us, in order for us to kind of navigate through what I think next 2 or 3 years is going to be pretty interesting times.
So during these turbulent times where we see other nations looking at, the economy the global economy not doing well, the emerging markets not doing well, what do you normally tell people?
Yeah, so what we do is we're like a momentum based kind of trading service. So we're looking for where the buying is coming in. And so we saw, all year we've been begging people to get out of the broad market. I said, look, if you have a pension plan, if you have IRA, 401k, you need to start lightening up because we're going to probably get a broad market correction. 30 to 40% is not out of the ordinary for these kind of events, but we're seeing money flowing into the metals and the miners, Dave. And so what we've been doing is positioning people to get into the gold miners and the silver miners. And then there was an event that happened at the end of August that put the bottom in crypto, put the bottom in silver, and put the bottom in the gold miner market. And so that's where we've been spending our time. And therefore, we've been helping people make money, and we've been sidestepping this whole craziness in the market right now.
Now, you mentioned gold, you mentioned silver, you mentioned miners, and for a long time, we've been seeing manipulation in the precious metals market where they throw a lot of paper contracts and they bring the price down. And a lot of people have been wondering, like, when is this manipulation? When is this going to end? And a lot of people have been, talking about it, saying, it's going to happen very, very quickly and it's going to end quite soon. Do you see this happening where the precious metals will all of a sudden burst out and start moving up quickly?
Yeah, it already happened. It started like the end of August. It's continued in September. And, silver's up 10% from its bottom. Some of the miners are up 25-30% from their bottoms, Dave. So we think this move is secular in the sense that it's not going to be a couple week thing. We're looking 6 to 18 months move with gold and silver and the miners. And the reason being, they've been shorting these markets, Dave, using the proceeds to buy into the broader market. As they unwind these trades, they have to close their short trades off at the same time, which takes the pressure off. It's like, when you're a kid and you put the beach ball down in the pool under the water. Once that pressure releases, everything just pops. And that's what's happening with gold and silver. And like I said, we'll probably see, no exaggeration, because this happened in 2011 as well, and it happened in the early 2000s. We're looking probably a 200 to 400% move in some of the miners, and some of the junior miners could be up to 8 times where their current prices are today. So tremendous opportunity. No need to mess around with the broad market. You go where the money's going to flow, and that's where we think the money is. And uranium included, because a big restocking cycle is going to happen. And regardless of economic conditions, they have to buy the gray metal to be able to put into the power plants. And those are $2, $4, $5 billion power plants. They're not going to shut them down. They're going to hold their nose. They're going to pay whatever to keep generating that electricity.
Now, do you think there's going to be a problem? Because in the news lately, we've been seeing that Russia, China, which this is going back a couple of years where they created their own payment systems. The EU was out there with Germany saying that they're going to create their own payment system. Russia was out there saying that, we're going to use our own, each nation should use their own national currencies. Is this going to be a problem for the dollar as the reserve currency?
My personal view is no. You just have to ask yourself, which one of those currencies would you personally want to own? Would you trust a communist nation for the value of their currency? Would you trust Russia? Europe is going to be a failed idea in the next 10 years. So the United States is going to stand firm for a long time. The only thing that's going to usurp the dollar is going to be hard commodities like gold and silver and maybe a basket of commodities, including oil and natural gas. And we have plenty of that in this country too. So I think the dollar stands firm. And when you're a debtor nation from a trade standpoint, it's very difficult for people to move you aside as a reserve currency. And like China, look, China is going to absolutely implode. And we have an analogy for this. We were China in 1929, Dave. And today, we're like Great Britain. During the Great Depression, Great Britain did relatively well, and the United States suffered enormously. China's in the same boat. They built their whole economic well-being on exporting primarily to the United States. And we're shutting that off right now to protect our own economic interests. Trump may use a lot of hyperbole, but the bottom line is that they're trying to cut trade off so that we can have employment in this country and create inflation and create what's called money velocity. And that money velocity will create the tax revenue. That's the best and only hope the United States has. China, you see what they're doing now. They're saying, well, heck with it. We're just going to print as much yuan as possible, stick it in the hands of our people, and hope we can ignite a consumer revolution in their country. That's the only choice they have. So everybody's made their bed right now. Our experiment is going to prove out to be the winner. China's not so much.
Do you think Trump is going to be able to bring back the manufacturing to the U.S.? He did mention that the globalist system is kind of finished and he's making trade deals. Do you think manufacturing will be coming back from the emerging markets and back into the U.S.?
I mean, to an extent it will. Automation's going to eat up a lot of the employment, but a lot of manufacturing jobs are going to come back. They're going to shorten the supply lines again. I was just having dinner last night with a guy that's in the defense software business, and he said all this stuff with us using foreign chips, that's gone. That's all going to come back. You're going to see fab plants coming back into the United States. It's going to create their own supply chains, Dave. And you're going to see electronics back in this country, and you're going to see a steel back in this country, and you're going to see a lot of the primary industries move back into this country. And then along with that, you get the supply chains, and then you get the intellectual property for the next level. And we're already the leaders in healthcare and pharma and biotech, so we'll maintain that lead and those manufacturing skills as well. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic, in that regard. And I'm not to say we're not going to go into recession or anything like that. I'm not Pollyanna. What I'm saying is that we're going to do relatively well, during this next down cycle in the economy.
Okay, but you do think there's going to be some type of down cycle. You think we're going to be heading towards some type of recession or depression. Is it going to be like 2008? Is that what you're saying, or?
No, I think it's going to be different. I think it's going to be closer to like what happened in the 1970s. Look, the central banks around the world are petrified of a 1929 event, and they already lived the 2008 event. They're just not going to stop printing, regardless of what they tell you. They're going to make sure that there's going to be currency flowing into these economies. And the U.S. is no different. Look, President Trump's already talking about a middle class tax cut. The Democrats are already talking about guaranteed a living wage or living income. So they're gonna what's called put hot money into the economy if they have to. And what that'll do is growth may go to nothing, but prices will go up. And that's more like the stagflation of the 70's. People haven't seen that in an entire generation. We think that's going to come again. And that's my view. And that's the thesis I'm working from until the markets tell me otherwise. And the fact that the dollar's going up and gold and silver going up with it, Dave, is telling me that I'm probably right for right now.
So, I mean, the dollar's going up, gold's going up, and, lately people were jumping into the crypto market when Bitcoin was rising very, very quickly. And then we heard from the central bankers like the Biz, the IMF saying that, terrorists use cryptocurrency. By the way, I own cryptocurrency myself, and cryptocurrencies, they dropped, they came down, Bitcoin came down, and a lot of people say, it's over with, we're done with cryptocurrency. But I think there's a huge market out there. I think this is just the beginning stages. And you deal in cryptocurrency. Where do you see cryptocurrency headed? Do you think this is the time to get into cryptocurrency?
Yeah, if you take it year over year, we're still up from 2017 into 2018. I mean, the beginning of 2017, Bitcoin was in the $2,000 range. Now it's at almost 6,500, just because we had that blow off, which I think was manufactured by the banks to get into the futures market. Nothing nefarious per se, but they needed to accumulate coins, and as you know, 80% of Bitcoin's kind of locked up in vaults. So it created a short squeeze. That squeeze is being relieved right now. And when we hit 5,800, and again at the end of August, it went down. It hit its low again, Dave. So our view is that we just trade it right now. It needs to get back over 9,000 to get back into a bull move again. But in the meantime, we're picking off 2 or 3 10% moves a quarter, just using buy and selling, our algorithms that we developed, and then altcoins as well. I sent you some charts to show you how our system works. We have basically 3 algorithms, one that looks for oversold reversals, great opportunities for quick profits. Another one we call a wave runner, where once you catch a move, you kind of ride it. And the third one is the one I sent you on, where it hits the bottom of a channel that's rising, and you take that trade. And so that's all we've been doing. And once it breaks that downtrend line that's sitting above price, Bitcoin will move again. Especially now that people are getting really worried about the banks. The banks are in some jeopardy, and as these emerging markets start to suffer, that's where you see these impulse moves in Bitcoin. And one of these moves is going to go and it's not going to come back. So we're all on board. We're in with the primary altcoins, and we're definitely a Bitcoin. And for me personally, I mostly trade Bitcoin. I'll trade the more liquid altcoins. And then my partner, just to give people perspective, he was a crypto miner from 2011 on. So there's nobody that knows the space better than he does. I'm more of a stock, an option guy and an old silver trader. And, that's where my specialty is. But, we collude together and we cooperate and we talk about these things all the time. And we both agree that cryptos and precious metals is going to be making their move here in the next, 6 to 18 months. And that's the place where people are going to make their money.
Do you think countries are going to start adopting cryptocurrency and actually, we know Venezuela, they're using the El Petro to sell their oil and things like that to get around sanctions. Do you think other countries are going to use the blockchain technology to, handle business outside of the dollar?
You're already starting to see that happening, the blockchain side of it. It's definitely going to be involved in banking. It's going to be involved in trade. You're going to see a lot of it in the crypto space where what they call, securing the transaction where that, if I perform, like we're doing this interview and at the end of this interview, if I promised you something, is that when that interview's done, the blockchain will force an event without me saying, well, you know what? I really don't want to pay you today. That kind of a thing. Those things are happening. You're going to see it in trade as trust falls. The blockchain's going to force those transactions to occur so that people can trust, that what you say you're going to do, you're going to ultimately do. And definitely the secret coins are going to do well too, especially when more and more these healthcare players start adopting. They have the HIPAA rules they got to deal with, and you're going to be able to go ahead and basically encrypt your data, and you only send the data that's required for that end user to use, so they don't have your entire database in which to either sell against you or use against you. And then I think this whole social media experiment, when this thing goes to social media 2.0 or 3.0, is that I think we're going to be in more control over our information versus, the social media companies having centralized databases on people. So absolutely, I think we're like the end of the third inning in the whole crypto space and blockchain world, Dave. Absolutely, it's going to explode.
You mentioned something about secret coins. I'm not familiar with that. What is a secret coin?
Oh, it just means that the data is encrypted.
Oh,
and
okay.
so, yeah. So, it's a mnemonic for me. It's just, the data is secret. So you're going to see it in social media. You're going to see it in healthcare. You're going to see it in financial transactions. In the Caribbean, they're starting to use it for stock transactions so that, people don't get to see your entire portfolio, or they don't get to see the trade. A lot of times when you're talking about the naked shorting in the gold and silver markets, people have a big problem here in this country because the brokers sell your stops and limits to high frequency traders that force you out of positions. Well, you're going to see blockchains come in, and they're not going to know that you have a stop or limit in there until that price hits, and then it's going to release. So you're going to see those kind of secret coins or secret tokens or those blockchains. They're going to proliferate as soon as they get enough of, critical mass, and then it's going to move forward and everybody's going to start using them.
So we mentioned that the economy most likely will be heading towards a recession. Now, in the beginning, we talked about we're getting all these mixed messages and things like that. How do people prepare for this? If we're heading towards a recession, because a lot of people have their investments, they want to invest, they want to make sure that, they don't lose money. And a lot of people don't know how to do this. So, from your opinion, how do people do this? What can you tell them?
Yeah, there are some obvious things that people need to look for. So, when a certain amount of percentage of the stock market is trading below a moving average, you or your financial advisor should have been putting you more and more into cash. That happened at the beginning of this year. We were given a gift. Nobody should be able to complain that they weren't warned when we have the next big sell-off, because we had a chance, we had what's called a double top. That has now failed. So people should be pushing out 10, 20, 30% of their portfolio into cash and let this sell-off happen. Number one. Number two is that you can then step aside and you can move into things that are moving up. I think the bond market's going to move back up again. When I mean that, yield should fall again, Dave. Gold and silver and the miners should start taking center stage again. So people can move their portfolio and rebalance it into things that have been oversold. And then they can make money, trading things that are going up, and they got out of things that made them a lot of money. And then they can always swap back out when the moves change. We follow those money flows in what we do at Trade Genius. And just so people know what we do, how we do it, is that we're not long-term investors. We're called short swing traders. So what we do is we're looking for trades that are going on anywhere between 3 days and 2 weeks. And then we're trying to help people make 1, 2, 3, 4% on each trade each week. And then, try to outperform the market by 3 to 4 times. And in the crypto space, we use the same methodology to help people continue to amass more Bitcoin or their favorite altcoin and grow that portfolio at the same time during the consolidation. So we wrote software. We provide that software to subscribers that we use a trading platform called TradingView. So they just subscribe and they have access to the signals. In addition to that, we actually provide them signals and we send it to them via text message when those things hit. I sit here all day. I'm working from 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. and my partner is on an altered schedule. And then what we do is our algorithm sends us a signal. And if we like that signal, we forward it on. Or people are a little bit more advanced and want to trade their own signals, we provide that to them on their own software. In addition to that, when you become a member, you automatically get access to our training program. So we teach you how to trade cryptos, we teach you how to trade the market. That's no additional charge. So you join us for a year, you have access to all the training courses that we have, to learn the basics of how to trade. And in addition to that, we have chat rooms, so you can be trading either in the stock chat room or the crypto room. Those rooms are available 24/7. And we're in those personally quite a bit, definitely during the week. And we hang out there a lot on the weekend as well. So that's what we do. We do quite well. We're not the Lambo guys. We're lunch pail guys. We just want to help people make money nearly every day in the market, grind their way to better wealth, and just to feel comfortable and confident that they're making the right decisions and trading the right things and feel a little bit more in control. We do a lot of education, Dave. I live for this stuff. I love this stuff. And I'm always watching to see what's going on in the world. My personal background was in business development, mergers, acquisitions. So, it's kind of in my DNA to always be looking out at the future. And I love to impart that, to subscribers, to yourself, and quite frankly, anybody who will listen to me. So that's what we do at Trade Genius. And this is the first time we talked. I put some specials together for you and your listeners if you're interested. So if they go ahead and go to tradelikeagenius.com before the 29th of October, and they purchase one of our bundled services that we have there on the main screen, they could get an annual subscription to trade cryptocurrencies or to trade the stock market, get additional training. They can get our software, whatever it is that appeals to them. And then we've already significantly discounted those for your listeners. In addition to that, we've done something that we have not done for other people before. And if anybody that purchases those bundles that come from your show before the 29th, on November 2nd, we're going to do a private webinar with Phil and myself. Phil's my trader from cryptos. And we'll talk about the markets. We'll talk about stocks. We'll talk about cryptocurrencies. We'll show people how we trade, what we look for, how we determine what's a good trade and not a good trade, and then answer anybody's questions. And that would be that won't be open to the public. That'll be a private free webinar for your listeners. So it's a really good deal. And in addition to that, all our bundles have training associated with it, unless it's the training package itself. If you buy the stock or ETF bundle, You get training as part of that. Same with crypto. We find that it's very helpful for people to understand what we do and how we do it and how to trade. You become a more effective trader. We definitely feel that if we teach you to fish, you'll be a great trader and you'll stay with us because we're going to help you find really good opportunities.
The link to get to the webinar, the free webinar, and all of this, just tell everyone how to get to it once again.
Yeah, go to tradelikeagenius.com or tradegeniusacademy.com. It'll send you to the same place. And then on the main page, you'll see we call the Halloween bundles, and they're available till the 29th of October. And then you can call us, you can chat with us, you can email with us and ask any question that you want. And then once you go ahead and join us, we'll send you out a personal invitation for the 2nd of November webinar.